Okay, so I like books, in case you didn't know that. I also like the characters within the books. So let's get into my top 10 favorite characters from sci-fi fantasy books. Alright, so the rules for this, I've made myself rules, are I can pick any character that I want, but I cannot pick more than 2 characters from a single author. So I thought about limiting it to no more than 2 characters from a single series, but then I was like, okay, well, Brandon Sanderson has written like 3 or 4 series, so I could just fill up pretty much this entire list with Brandon Sanderson characters. So instead, I'm limiting it to 2 characters from a single author. Alright, so coming in at number 10, we have Hermione Granger from the Harry Potter series. Now, I don't talk about the Harry Potter series a whole lot because I don't like it very much, actually. Unpopular opinion right there. I don't think the Harry Potter series is that great. Sorry to any millennials or Harry Potter lovers watching this, but one of the highlights for this series is Hermione Granger. She is a very well-written character, I thought, and she also fits into that sort of stereotypical, really smart, witty character that I like to read. You'll see pretty much this entire list is populated by that character type, which is fine. But yes, Hermione's character I feel like is a very well-loved character from the Harry Potter series. I actually like her better than Harry. This could turn into a whole Harry Potter rant, but I'll save that for another video if you guys want to see me rant about Harry Potter, or if you don't care about my opinions on that, let me know. As with most of my top 10 videos, this will probably turn into me speaking longer and longer as we get higher up the list and just like making squealing noises over my favorite characters, but it's fine. We'll get there eventually. For now, we're just at the characters that I like. There will not be spoilers for any series mentioned in this video, and if I do decide to go into spoilers, I will be sure to let you guys know and then put like time so that you can skip around the spoilers. But without further ado, let's move into character number 9. Coming in at number 9 is a character that probably not all of you will be familiar with, but the character is Will Treaty from the Ranger's Apprentice series. If you have read Ranger's Apprentice, I'm guessing you probably love it and were obsessed with it as a kid like I was. If you've never heard of Ranger's Apprentice, it's a middle grade series written by John Flanagan. I was obsessed with the series when I was younger. I read it multiple times, and Will Treaty is just like the epitome of my childhood nostalgia. I love his character so much and the development that he goes throughout all 10 books, because there are 10 books in the series. I don't count the books that have been written now. Those books are dead to me. It is just the first 10. But Will Treaty's character is just so well developed. I love watching I love that you get to watch him turn from this young boy and to grow up into this extremely talented ranger, and just like it's so wonderful, and it is so nostalgic for me. I couldn't help but put it on this list. Coming in at number 8, we have another not quite as well-known character, but probably more directed toward the people that are going to be watching this video, because I feel like most of you are Wheel of Time fans. But we have Tao from Rage of Dragons, or I think the series is called The Burning. So far, there are only 2 books out in the series, Rage of Dragons and Fires of Vengeance. If you have not read them, I would highly recommend reading them. They are super duper good. The author, Evan Winter, I believe started out as a self-pub author, and then his books got picked up by a publishing agency. So it's sort of had this unique journey, and his books are so good. And the main character in the books, Tao, is just incredibly well written, and his development is so well done, and it's really hard to talk about him without getting into spoilers, but just the development that his character goes through is so well executed. And on top of that, one of my main praises for Winter's books is that all of his characters, their actions, feel very well suited to their characters. Like, I don't feel like his book characters act out of the character that he set up for them very often. Tao is a very consistent character, and I like that a lot about him, as well as having very realistic motivations and very just unique character traits. The other thing about Tao is, like, everything that's special about him, for the most part, is self-made. Like, he's not, it's this world that is filled with magic, and you have this main character that is magicless. And for him to start where he started and get to the point where he is at the end of book 2 is just really amazing. Coming in at number 7, we have a character whose name I will probably pronounce incorrectly, but we have Shay Call from the Greenbone Saga. Now, again, like the last series, if you haven't read the Greenbone Saga, highly, highly recommend. It is so good, even if you're not like a fan of like mafia, Japanese fantasy. It's so interesting. The magic system is incredibly well realized. The characters are so well developed. Fonda Lee's character work is just blows my mind. Absolutely stunning. But I went ahead and just chose a favorite character from all of the characters from the series, and my favorite character would have to be Shay. Just first off, because she's a little more relatable, because she's this girl in a man's world, it feels like, still a little bit. And also at the same time, just the tragedy after tragedy that her character gets put through. It's just absolutely devastating and beautiful. And oh, the characters, Fonda Lee is not afraid to beat up on her characters in just about every way you can imagine. And to get to watch Shay develop and have a lot of just really epic moments is so wonderful, and a lot of heartbreaking moments too. Like, Shay's character is just incredibly well realized, as well as every single other character in that series. Both Hilo and Andon would probably be my next two favorites. Are so well done. Just a quick thing I want to mention. There are a lot of major fantasy series that I haven't read, so I just want to list these out right now. Some major series that I haven't read, and I'm sure there are others. So that's why you're not seeing characters from these books in this video, is because there's still a lot of major series that I haven't read. Coming in at number 6, I think we have our first sci-fi entry. I don't think any of the others have been sci-fi, but we have Ender Wiggin from Ender's Game. Now, I think I mentioned in my BookTube newbie tag, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the channel. I know I mentioned it on my Instagram before. Self-plug, Instagram. Go follow me if you want to keep up with what I'm reading on like a more daily basis. But anyhow, Ender's Game is one of my favorite books of all time. I've read it an absolutely absurd number of times. I started reading it when I was like, I think early middle school, and I've read it more than a dozen times since. But the character Ender in this book series is just, I love Ender's character. It is so interesting to get to watch him grow and develop with this just incredibly brilliant mind that he's been given. I mean, so brilliant that he surpasses all of his peers, and it's shown very skillfully how that impacts his social life and just his development. And it is so incredibly interesting to me that also in this book, like, he's a kid. He's a little itty bitty kid. And to get to watch him grow and develop, the book spans several years, through all of that time is just so incredibly fascinating to me. And I love reading from Ender's point of view, and from his siblings as well, but him in particular, and just the sense of duty that he feels. And I can't spoil the end of the book, but the way that that impacts him as well, and just sort of like devastates him emotionally, is so interesting to see. Okay, coming in at number 5 is a character I'm sure that a lot of you have been waiting to see on this list. We have Rand al'Thor from the Wheel of Time series. A very well-loved fantasy character from anybody who has read the Wheel of Time. Rand al'Thor is just on a whole nother level from a lot of the characters I previously mentioned. We have 14 books of Rand being the main character for the most part, to develop his character and watch him grow from sheep herder village farm boy to the absolute powerhouse that he is by the end of the series. And it's this incredible development, and I I just, there's too much. I could talk about Randall Thor for hours, as well as other characters from that series, but I don't have that much time right now. So, Randall Thor is an awesome character. Again, I can't really get into this without spoiling stuff for the Wheel of Time series, and I want this video to be spoiler-free. So, Randall Thor is awesome. Coming in at number 4, we have another Wheel of Time character, and for anybody who watches my Wheel of Time videos, it will not shock you that coming in at number 4 in this list is Moiraine Damodred from the Wheel of Time series. I love Moraine's character so much, and I just like to pretend that books sort of 13 and 14 didn't happen to her character. She was done so dirty, it made me really mad, but books 1 through 5, holy cow. Her character is so amazing, and I love this sort of twist that she is on the wise old wizard. While she fits the trope, but also like not being, she's a twist on it for sure. Like Jordan twisted that trope a little bit to make it unique to his story, and I really like that. And the way that Moiraine is executed while fitting this wise old wizard trope, but also clearly having deep motivations of her own and thoughts and feelings of her own, and just this bond that she has with Lan, and all this stuff stacked on top of each other made her character my favorite from the Wheel of Time series. It is so interesting to watch her character guide these other characters so that they can develop, but also to watch her character develop too. I feel like we got to see Moiraine develop from book 1 to book 5, and it's very interesting to me. I am trying to keep this a little bit shorter since my videos lately have been kind of long. So moving on to number 3, we have Jasnah Kholin from the Stormlight Archive series. Again, anybody who's watched for a while will not be surprised that Jasnah is on this list. And again, talking about the characters that fit into that super smart, nerdy character type that I really love, Jasnah fits almost perfectly. So she comes in at number 3 on this list. It's unfortunate that we haven't gotten like a ton of point of view from her in the Stormlight Archive yet. I know that she's going to play a bigger role in the second half of the series, like books 6 through 10, because I know there's like a break in between books 5 and 6 of the Stormlight Archive. Also, let me know if you want to see more Stormlight Archive content. I'm a massive Stormlight Archive nerd. I've just been reading Wheel of Time for the past half of the year, so if you want to see some Stormlight Archive content, let me know. Drop ideas down in the comments. I'm terrible at coming up with ideas for videos, but once I have ideas, I can execute them. So let me know if you want to see some Stormlight Archive content. But yeah, back to the list. Jasnah Kholin. So well realized, even though she has only had very small amounts of point of view in these books. The way her character transitions from sort of a mentor figure to Shallan to this incredibly well realized character of her own, who clearly has her own goals and motivations, and I'm incredibly interested in her connection to the Ghost Bloods. I really want to hear more about that and why. Brief spoilers for Stormlight Archive here. If you haven't read Stormlight Archive, skip to this time. But why the Ghost Bloods want her dead so badly? I'm very curious about that. I really want to know. Why do they want her dead so badly? And why do they not want Shallan dead? Clearly. No more spoilers. But anyhow, Jasnah's character is just the character type that I like a lot. Anyhow, moving on to number 2, we have another Stormlight Archive character. Coming in at number 2, we have Navani Kholin. And the only reason that Navani comes in above Jasnah is because we've heard a lot more from Navani than we have from Jasnah. So I have a lot more reference for Navani's character. And this is going to be super duper difficult to do without going into Rhythm of War spoilers, because Rhythm of War was the book that made Navani shoot from not even on my top 10 favorite Stormlight Archive characters list to number 1. So, Navani's character was really just kind of there until book 3, I felt. And then in book 3, I was like, okay, I really like her now. And then in book 4, I was like, okay, holy cow. Navani's character was so well done in book 4. Brandon Sanderson has this way, especially in Stormlight Archive, of taking a character that you know basically nothing about and being like, you're going to like this character now. And that's what he did with Navani in book 4. Just the getting to know about the past of her character, as well as these accomplishments that she's made real time in these books, was just so fun to read. And she dropped my favorite line ever in the Stormlight Archive series. If you haven't read book 4, I'm not going to spoil it. If you have read book 4, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyhow, getting into the honorables mention, as I must call them now after my screw up in last video, we have, yes, 3 honorable mentions. The first of the honorable mentions is Nona Gray from, I believe it is the Book of the Ancestor trilogy. I just remembered that it is basically assassin nuns, and the books all end in the word sister. So it's like Red Sister, Gray Sister, you know, stuff like that. If you've read them, you know, they're great. It's been a while since I read those books, and I don't remember quite enough about Nona's character to put her on top 10. Our last 2 honorable mentions are really just an honorable mentions because I already had 2 Sanderson characters that I like better than these 2. But we have Vin and Sazed from the Mistborn trilogy. I love both of these characters so much, and they probably would be in top 10, but I couldn't make 4 out of my 10 top 10 Sanderson characters. So I needed some diversity. So that is actually it for the honorable mentions. There would have been more, except that I was keeping this list exclusive to science fiction and fantasy. So that is why there are not as many in the honorable mentions. Alright, coming in at number 1 is a character that will probably surprise people. That is my number 1 favorite character. This is a character from a book that I read very recently and I'm now obsessed with. If any of you are here from my Instagram, you know I'm obsessed with this book. Coming in at number 1, we have Misaki from The Sword of Kaigen. Holy cow. Let me just rant about how much I love this book for like 2 seconds. The character development in this book, absolutely outstanding, especially for a standalone. Like, I think a lot of times standalones get pegged as like not having the greatest character development because they're a standalone book, so you don't have as much room for plot and character development and all this stuff. But holy cow, the flashbacks from past to present did so much for Misaki's character, and just the development of her going from, you know, what she was like during her childhood to motherhood, and it's just this incredibly fascinating story about that transition. And the magic system in this book is so well realized, like holy cow. The only thing that was kind of confusing were the names, but that's probably just because I speak English. The scene towards the end between her and her husband is one of the greatest scenes I have ever read in a book. Absolutely stunning, so well done. I loved it. It was... I feel like with her character in this book, it's like a constant battle between disagreeing with her decisions and then growing to understand them. You're like, oh, why did you... Oh, I understand why you did that. And then, you know, being happy with the decisions that she made. And it's this whole, like, back and forth the whole time. And in the end, you just come to love this character so much and understand her so well as lots of the other characters in the book. There are other characters in the book too that are incredibly well realized, but her character just really stood out to me as one that was very well developed, realized, and like realistic too. Like I love how, you know, as when she's a kid, like really minor spoilers right here, she's more of a fighter. But like as she's older, even though she still has those skills, she's old. She's not old, but she can feel her age and stuff like that, and it's well described in that way. And I'm obsessed with this book right now, so thank you for humoring me. Anyhow, that is it for my list of top 10 favorite science fiction and fantasy characters from all of the books that I have read. Sorry if I haven't read a series that has your favorite characters in it. Let me know in the comments down below, do you agree with a lot of my picks? What would some of your picks be? Like I said, let me know. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Radiant Reads Reviews to keep up with what I'm reading, and I will see you all in the next one.